So 2025 really gave us a lot of incredible albums in general. I mean, there's just so much to choose from. I generally consider this year to probably be the hardest year to just like listen to music in general. There's too many things going on at the same time. And every year, I like to keep the tradition of basically doing honorable mentions. Mention some albums that, while aren't the most incredible thing ever and didn't make it on my best albums of the year list, they're still worth a mention. They're still worth an honorable shout because I still feel they're worth a listen. And hey, you might even like these albums more than some of my picks for best albums of the year. So there you have it. Starting off, we have "Life Is Beautiful" by 2 Chainz, Larry June, and The Alchemist. This is a very unexpected collab album, but I feel like it makes a lot of sense as well. I believe that 2 Chainz, and Larry June, and The Alchemist, they released a single earlier this year that I really liked. I forgot the name. I think it was Bad Habits. Was it Bad Habits? I think it was. And I was really just enticed and just kind of interested to see what they would do in a project together. And I generally enjoyed my time. I think the production is smooth, kind of lavish, similar, but not exactly the same as Alfredo 2. Obviously, it's Alchemist producing it, so it kind of makes sense. But this feels like a nice, breezy listen. It's very short. And it really has its moments. I think the self-titled track is just absolutely stunning to listen to. I think the flute melody is just super addictive. I think Larry June's laid-back voice just matches super well. 2 Chainz as well, kind of reflecting over his life. I think just a lot of great elements working into the album. Next up, I have "Psychotic" by Osamason. I'm gonna keep it real with you. This is probably the first Osamason album I've ever listened to. I've heard some Osamason songs and like clips here and there, but I haven't really dived into his discography, and I genuinely enjoyed my time with this album. Um, I think the critiques I used to have of Osama-san are still prevalent in this album. There are some moments where it feels a little bit repetitive, but for the most part, it's a pretty enjoyable rage album. I kind of went in here thinking that it was going to be boring and bland, but if anything, it actually became pretty good for what it was. Like, yes, it's not the most experimental rage album out there, but it definitely is one of the more enjoyable and addictive ones out there for sure. So if you're into rage, definitely give this one a listen. Next up, I have 12 by Westside Gunn. Westside Gunn put out like what, three or four albums, something like this year, small projects, and I feel like 12. I think it was continuing the Hitler Wears Hermes series, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's a pretty solid album, if anything. It's not my favorite. I think that probably goes to probably Hitler Wears Hermes 8, both side A and side B. But for what it is, it's not bad at all. I think this is probably his most complete album ever since those two albums, if anything. It kind of makes sense for what it is. Again, it's very short. Runtime is like just kind of flashes by. But for what it is, it's just typical Westside Gunn thing. Derringer production. I think Alchemist also produced some things in there. Conductor too. But it just kind of like just sticks with you for some reason. It's just songs that really do stick with you. His rapping never gets old, and it just feels natural at this point where he's just kind of like riffing, and even the riffing just sounds good enough for what it is. Next up is "I Love My Computer" by Ninaijirachi. I probably misspelled that name. Oh my god, that was mispronounced that name. I was crazy. But yeah, I think the album has a lot of character attached to it. I know a lot of people like are obsessed with this album. Personally, I wasn't. I think that some elements are a little bit basic, and I kind of heard this before in like electronic and EDM type albums. But for what it is, it's really interesting, especially from an artist that I just haven't heard of at all. For first impressions, I think this album like really has its moments where it's like this is very impressive. If I'm not mistaken, I think she self-produced this entire album, which is mind-blowing. Just the amount of elements and details put into the glitchy and glitzy production, it just feels like she really poured her soul into this album when producing it, making it. I think it's definitely one of the better electronic slash EDM albums that I've heard in recent memory. It's nothing, at least as I said, it's nothing like super mind blowing in my opinion, but it really has some catchy and addictive elements to it that I feel that if you like the genre, you'll probably like this album by default. Next up is "Mercy" by Armand and The Alchemist. While this album didn't grab me the same way that their last collab album was, like Haram, I just still feel that it's still worth a listen. I think that some of the issues that I have with this album is that the pacing, or at least the structure, is kind of all over the place. Like it's not like a super boring album or anything like that. It just feels like the track listing is like doesn't make sense. It kind of feels like all over the place. Like when you listen to it, you'll probably understand what I'm trying to say. But it really has some highs. I think Super Nintendo is one of my favorite songs of the year, and one of my favorite Armand Hammer songs, too. The one with Earl Sweatshirt is actually pretty good. I wasn't a huge fan of the mixing, but I feel it's still a strong track within itself. But the overall sentiment that I get from Mercy is that they were trying to go more with a slower, more methodical approach, that didn't glue the same way that it did with their previous record. But I still feel that it's just kind of worth a shot. Like it's Arm and Hammer, you're still gonna get the elite songwriting, the elite bars and performances and stuff. And I don't think that the Alchemist production was bad or anything. A lot of people called it sloppy. I genuinely just thought it was, the usual Alchemist production. It's nothing too bad or anything like that, but I wouldn't compare it to something like Alfredo 2, for example. But it's still good enough for what the album is trying to provide. Finally, we have the Pilot by Mavi. This is probably the latest one that I've heard. If I'm not mistaken, this album is supposed to be a precursor for some other project that Mavi has in the future, which if it is, props to him, because this is a pretty well articulated album for what it is. I think it's only like 10, 12 songs long. And for what it is, it really has its moments. I was a huge fan of the Giannis Freestyle by Mavi. I think he slid on that track. There's also a song with Mike that he did, which was really good. There's a very short one with Earl Sweatshirt, which for like, I think it's only like a minute long. They really spazzed and just went all out in the production, the bars and everything. That was generally incredible. He's going back and forth, trading bars. Again, it has a lot of good moments in such a short amount of time. The only issues that I really have is that some of the songs kind of feel like I've heard this before from him. It doesn't feel like he's evolved by a lot. But again, if this is supposed to be like a precursor project, I don't necessarily blame him. I kind of get it. But as all the honorable mentions I had, please give these albums a listen. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe, turn notification bell on so there's an upload from me. Comment what your honorable mention list would be, on what are your predictions for the best album of the year or something like that. That'll be very interesting to see. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep on making that best albums of the year list. Probably be coming out real soon, hopefully around this time this week. But yeah, this year has been stacked. Can't wait to share it with you guys, and peace out, everybody.